modified. No GPS, no rules, no shame. Just a funky little quad and a soul train frame. We fly that flow. Spread that gap. No time to nap. No time to nap. Hit that roll. Funk and control. Bounce that wall. We fly it all. We fly it all. Funky and free, we fly indoors, we fly with glee. Whoop it, loop it, groove it, move it, bounce it, flip it, funk it, rip it, fly that soul, don't lose control. Tiny whoop love gonna make you whole. I thread the needle through the vinyl stacks, bounce off the mirror ball, never looking back. My quad's got soul, it's got style, it's got sass. It dips through the incense like a blast from the past. I'm flying figure eights through the lava lamp glow, dodging house plants like a funky pro. My whoops got rhythm, my sticks got heat. I'm the pilot of the party with the grooviest beat. I loop through the hallway, I dive by the broom. I'm the disco ghost in your living room. I hit that split that's over grandma's chair. She just claps and says, boy, you got flair. I'm flying freestyle with a velvet touch. My quad so smooth it don't need a clutch. From the shag rug to the ceiling fan, I'm the funky little fly with a master plan. The curtains dancing on the breeze, freestyle funk in my living room with ease. Tiny whoop magic bumping every wall. I'm the James Brown of flight, can't stop at all.
What's up, people? My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. The voice of God is here. It's Kevin Sumner.
Good evening.
Welcome to Monday Q&A. I'm exhausted. Maggie booked us a little last-minute trip to Macon, Georgia. It's where almost exactly a year ago, weirdly, I flew that building demolition. They demolished that historic Radisson Hotel building, and we were like 2 blocks away from that. Very, very weird. There was supposed to be... Maggie loves snow. I grew up in the north, and snow can go to hell forever. She grew up in the north, too, but moved down to the south way earlier than me. And I think it's getting to her, and she needs as much northernism as possible. And so it was looking like this was going to be the last snow possibility for this year, but it was only coming through central Georgia. And so she found a cheap little Airbnb, which is what you were just looking at. And me, her, and Florence went down for 2 days and 2 nights. Yeah, 2 days and 2 nights. And it was fun. We had a good time. We just kind of sat around. It was really cold. It snowed for like 2 hours Saturday morning. I slept through it, which was fine because snow can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. But Maggie got to see her snow. She's happy. And then, yeah, we came back today. I, of course, couldn't sleep worth a shit because I just have trouble sleeping. And so I'm practically deliriously tired at the moment. So buckle up, buttercups. It's going to be a real shit show. Maybe not. We're going to compare. Kevin, you there?
Nope.
Oh, were you? Was that you muted?
What? No. Oh, I'm focused on.
You were talking about the hotel. You got to film that hotel. There's this cool hotel in Raleigh, or well, yeah, it's a Holiday Inn. It was built in the '60s, and so it has that like that kind of weird vibe that all '60s buildings have, right?
Sure, sure.
It's giant and large. Actually, here, let me drop a picture of it in Discord. But I was disappointed because when I like found out about it, I was like, man, I want to go fly that. And then immediately the next link, last summer was, oh, it's getting torn down. It got a reprieve, and so it still exists. And so,
nice.
I just looked it up, and now I'm all excited because I'm like, all right, when am I going to fly this thing?
Wait until it's getting demolished and fly that.
Now it's historic landmark status, so it'll be around for a while.
Yeah, now it's not getting demolished. That's
picture
cool.
in Discord if you.
Oh, look at that! That reminds me of the presidential tower here in Atlanta. To get to the Discord, head on over to CiottiFPV.com. There's a link to it. You'll get access to like 6 or so of the text channels. To get full access to the other like 10 or so, join my Discord. It's the best way that you not Discord. Join my Patreon. It's the best way that you can support me. You can get on there for as little as $3 a month. That's like 10 cents a day, 20 cents a live stream. Come on, you can't tell me I haven't saved you a little bit of money or like shown you something really good to buy instead of buying trash. Yeah, jump on the Patreon. You'll get full Discord access. You'll get a link to a private playlist on YouTube with I think over 100 different things on it now. Sketchy flying that I don't want to be public. Patreon only live streams. Half done edits that have never actually made it out because I wasn't really all that happy with them. All kinds of good stuff. And you'll also get access to the Patreon itself, which has like Tech Talk articles. The Tech Talk is the tag that I've used. Lots of good stuff. It's well worth $3 a month, and it's the only way that I can keep doing this full time. Cool. What else? If we have time, we might dive into the. I was gonna do this when I was there, but it was just freezing cold. This has the X14 in it, and I was gonna do all the setup there, but I didn't. And so, if we have time, we can do the setup. It's just Betaflight setup. It's nothing that I haven't showed you 15 times before. I've got a big old bag of M2 Nylock. Are they Nylock? Let me just make sure. M2 Nylock nuts. Yep, they are Nylock. These will also serve as a either 2 or 3 millimeter spacer. I'm going to actually confirm if it's 2 or 3 right now because I forget. It's been a while since I've used these as spacers. Let me look. So yeah, if you need Nylock nuts, I'll be putting these up on the Etsy store. Etsy store is linked from CiottiFPV.com. Certainly looks like 2 millimeters to me, but
You've reminded me I need more
M2
Nylock nuts, in fact.
yeah, right. I did too. Somehow I used all of the ones that I've been hoarding from everything I've bought over the years, which is kind of ridiculous, but
I got M3s coming out my ears, but M2s
Yep.
you just go for, I don't know. Some gremlins must steal them. I guess it's the cobbler elves.
Indeed. Why has the battery in this gone to... See, this is why I used to take the battery out of this when I would put it away, but then I thought, nah, it'll be fine. There's no chance it'll hit the button while it's in the thing.
Famous last words.
All right, hold on. Let's see. I can almost read it. 2.9. So yeah, they are 3 millimeter. They'll take the place of 3 millimeter spacers, which is pretty cool because I don't think anybody makes 3 millimeter spacers. Newbie Drone sells 2 millimeter and 5 millimeter aluminum knurled spacers, which are awesome to have. Because a lot of times 2 millimeters is the right number. But then the jump from 2 up to 5 is kind of rough. So these Nylock nuts are the answer to that. So if you need them, let me know. I'll get them up on the Etsy store hopefully this week. If you need them before that, just message me somewhere. All my contact info is on CiottiFPV.com. Feel free to use it. Email works, but it's probably the worst option. Instagram is arguably the best option, or Discord works too. Those are the best ways to get a hold of me somewhat quickly. Although, be patient, because at the end of every live stream, I get a whole bunch of messages, and it sometimes backs me up quite a bit. Tonight, we're going to take a look at 2 pretty much identical rigs. I got to get some NX69s on the charger. Hold on.
You better do that now.
Damn it, I didn't remember that this one was on NX69. That's super annoying. All right. But luckily I caught it early enough. We'll be fine. We're going to take a look at 2 damn near identical rigs and see if there's any difference between the NX69 charger. Sorry, not NX69. I'm plugging NX69 batteries in right now, so it's on my brain. We're going to see if there's any difference between the 2G4 AIO and the Hummingbird V4. Also, what this is going to kind of look at is motor plugs. Both of these have the exact same motors, the Newbie Drone Hummingbird 0702 30,000s. They've got the same props. Different cameras, different canopies, but I think they weigh about the same. I'm going to weigh them in a minute here once I get these batteries going. And so, yeah, we'll get to see it. In the grand scheme of things, what I think this is going to be a test of is 2G4 with regular, bigger JST plugs, standard motor plugs, versus Hummingbird with the little motor plugs. There's a chance that the motor plugs have make a big difference. There's a chance that the AIO makes a big difference. There's a chance that the AIO makes a little difference. The plugs make a little, you know what I'm saying? I don't have a good way of separating out testing the motor plugs from the AIO, because the smaller motor plugs use the 3 pins are closer together. So I can't put the bigger plugs on the Hummingbird AIO. Alternatively, I can't put the smaller plugs on the 2G4 AIO. So this is the best that we can do. Somebody had asked or commented, I forget what it was, a week or 2 ago, alluding to, like, do you think the smaller Newbie Drone plugs could be killing efficiency or power? And it's something that I had always kind of been a little bit curious about, but I always knew it was almost impossible to test that. But then, like, when you guys express interest in something, I'm like, well, I guess I got to test it. Like, if I'm already kind of thinking of testing something, and then a couple of you people, or just even one of you, mention it, I'm kind of like, well, you know, you all pay for this, so you're my bosses. So, you know, when your boss says, like, hey, what about this? You buck up and you test it, yo. Let's take a look at what these 2 guys weigh. Because that could have... We're going to be able to check the RPM, which I think is going to be the most telling kind of thing. But the run times are also going to matter, and so the weight has a lot to do with that. So 18.3 grams for the Hummingbird build. What? 19.2. That... What? What happened here? 19.2. Why? What happened? This actually, I crashed this into the water, flying it at that spot yesterday. Is it soaked with water? Has the PCB absorbed a bunch of water? How is this 19.2 grams? It must just be these Hummingbird motors. I'm so used to this thing being on the Tiny Whoop Moon Traveler motors. There's no way that it was 19.2 grams on those motors.
Which motors are those? The Newbie Drone ones?
Yeah.
08 or 0702s or 0802s?
Yeah, 0702s. How the hell?
Are they just fat?
Weird, I guess. Hold on. Shout out to Nyafu for sending a care package with all kinds of cool stuff. I have a whole bunch of stuff in front of me here. One of the things is Hummingbird 0702 30,000 kV motor. So I can put this onto the scale and then take one of these other motors here. By other motors, I mean It's a Happymodel / Tiny Whoop / Weebleed motor, and let's take a quick look. The Hummingbird motor is coming in at 1.5. This, and then we've got this Happymodel made motor here. Let's see. So 1.5. No, 1.5 as well. That's very odd. Why is this? Why are you so heavy? I mean, whatever. It is as heavy as it is. Do I have a different camera that I can throw in here? I do. I have the same canopy and camera with the appropriate plug. I guess I'll do that. I guess I'm gonna switch this over while we're talking, while I'm getting caught up on chat, to this camera and canopy, and I'll put a lighter antenna on here so that it's so that the weights become a little bit more even. Wow, 19.2 grams. That thing flies awesome for being that heavy. Jesus. Okay.
You wanna say hello to the people in chat and then get to the bench, and I'll read stuff for you.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Nyafu, thank you so much. Lots of really cool stuff. This is a set of the VCI motors that I haven't tested before. So we're gonna try these. Bunch of 2023. I just cherry picked some of the stuff. There's all kinds of other good stuff in there, but bunch of 2023s. These are gonna end up in giveaways actually, because I already have a ton of these. Some HQ ultralights, bunch of HQ ultralights actually. And then a set of Flywoo 1003 14,000s. These are going to be awesome for some more testing. One single TBS Pod Racer 1505, which is hysterical because I have one single of these motors. So now I have two. So maybe I'll get two more at some point and test them. It's a 1505, which is a very weird kind of size, but the crazy thing about it is it's super, like, unbelievably smooth running. There's like no notchiness to it whatsoever, no cogginess, which could lead to it not making very good power, but maybe not. Set a Hummingbird 0702 30,000s and some more props and some snacks and whatnot. Some really, really cool stuff. Nyafu, thank you so much. Very, very, very cool. Some of this stuff will wind up in giveaways. Some of this stuff will get tested and or used. I'm looking forward to it. In the chat, Sporny was first. Whoop Fox, Kevin Sumner, Frank Nicholas, McMucus, B. Kirk, Nyafu, the Bruce, Uke, Natter, Sporny, Smoking Dog Cujo, Uriel, CCAD Ryan, Adam Verby, P Money, Fizz, DNS Jules, B. Kirk. We're going to stop there. If you want me to read your name for no reason whatsoever, you got to get in early. Or if you want to talk to me, just type at CiottiFPV, and then I'll read your name anyway. Sporty says, how was your weekend? It was good. Kind of sort of relaxing. B. Kirk goes, wait, no. B. Kirk says, what props are you using for the Pro Turtle? Flew once and broke a prop already. HQ 2x1x3. 2023s, 2023 S's are the way to go for 2-inch props from GemFan. They also make a 2019, which is a biblade, which is really, really good. They both look very similar to one another. Where's the overlay? I heard the sound, but I didn't get the overlay. That's weird. Yeah, so is it 2019 or is it 2015? Should say on it 2015. Sorry, 2015. So yeah, if you're running 2-inch propellers and you want a biblade, it's this. This is the one. GemFan 2015. If you're running tri-blades, it's this one, 2023S. These two props are really, really good, really durable, not super heavy. They make great power. They're the right pitch. Yeah, very well balanced. These are the ones. All right. I put this stuff in front of me. Let me get it out of the way a little bit here. All right. I'm going to start cranking on this thing while we jam through chat. Yeah, these will have the same camera. That'll be cool. These will be even more matched up in just a minute. Nyafu says, what's the best Whoop camera for low light stuff? CO3 things to be really bad at low light. RunCam 7 was way better, but haven't tried any others at night. I think the CO3 is all right. That's actually something you can look up. If you can find like the specs on the cameras, there'll be a lux rating for sensitivity. And so like 0.01, you're gonna see like 0.01, 0.001, and 0.0001. The more zeros, the better in low light. So you can look that up. Yeah, I don't know. Break Faded says, let's effing go. Uriel says, does Maggie like owls? We don't not like owls, but not like specifically. She likes birds of the raven occult even better. She changed her last name last year, I guess it was, to Corvidae, which is the order of birds that the raven is in. And so she's a bigger fan of ravens than owls. It's an oddly specific question. Uriel. P-Money says, nice haircut. Thank you, dude. Uriel says, Dutch postman was tear. No clue. No clue. I'm going to say
that's
yes.
Definitely here because T is right above H on the keyboard.
Oh, Dutch postman was here. Oh, he put an H in his next post too. I'm gonna take a guess. I'm gonna say yes. Dutch postman. I'm in. Nyafu says, opinion on Mario 8 frame. Best motor size for 8-inch. Oh God, I'm the wrong person to ask about 8-inch. You want to look for a Facebook group surrounding Cinelifters, or maybe long range, but not really long range. I mean, it depends. If you're building a Cinelifter, then actually no. Nyafu's doing wing stuff, I'll bet. Thus the big 8-inch prop.
The Mario 8 is a quad frame though.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. I just Oh, so that's a long range frame. Interesting. Well, yeah, if this is a long range build, go to the Facebook group Long Range Hooligans. It should still be around. It used to be hideously popular, so I'm sure it's still up. And ask in there a motor selection for a long range rig is going to be different than a Cinelifter, different than a wing. Like each different thing that you're doing. So like for example, long range, you don't necessarily need a giant, very low response time motor like you would for freestyle. And so you can get away with a smaller motor, which is going to be lighter, which is going to give you more runtime. But you can't go too small because then the motor overheats, and the magnets hate being overheated. And so there's kind of a fine balance there. And so that's like, and so then, think like, sure, it's a long range frame, but do you also want to fly freestyle with it? And this is just me, like, you're still going to ask in Long Range Hooligans. I have no idea. But you want to give them as much info as possible. So like, let them know like, hey, this is hardcore long range. I don't care if it wobbles all over the place. I just want to go as far as possible. Or this is freestyle with a bit of long range, so I need the best response time possible. Or this is going to be 50% long range, 50% freestyle. Does that make sense? That way they'll be able to suggest motors to you that are specifically kind of geared. Hopefully you'll find some folks in there that know what they're talking about. I know that there are people in there that know what they're talking about, but we're talking about a Facebook group here, so regardless, the majority of the info is going to be bad. So yeah, careful with that. Just understand that on Reddit and Facebook groups, most of the answers that you're going to get to questions are going to be either dead wrong or at least partially wrong. And so you need to like research the people giving you the answers to see how long they've been flying, to see, if their flight footage looks any good. you know, if their shit wobbles all over the place, maybe don't take motor advice from them, because they obviously don't know how to pick the right motor to have something that flies good, right? So keep all that in mind. The other thing you can do is look at the bind and flies. Bind and flies have gotten really good nowadays, so look for 8-inch bind and flies and see what motors are on them. See what motors GEP-RC or SpeedyBee or whoever is putting on their 8-inch builds. And then that'll get you in the ballpark. What I used to do is I would look, this is back when all the bind and flies had motors that were a little bit too small. So I would just look at the bind and fly, and if it was like a 1304, I would put a 1404 or a 1504. I would always just go one step up. But that's for freestyle, right? Like that's if you want something with a really good response time. For a hardcore long range build, the bind and flies might have the perfectly sized motor. You're probably pretty close looking at 2810s. I think 1809. No, so Nyafu said 2810 or 1809. Those are massively different. I think you might want to be somewhere in between those two. But if those are the only two options, I think maybe the 2810 would be the right call. The problem with the 2810 could be that it gets, well, 98. Actually, no. The problem with the 1809 is it's going to get too hot because it's 9 millimeters tall, but it's only 18 wide. So that's a 2-to-1 ratio. That's not enough. The 2810 is 10 tall and then 28 wide. So that's almost 3-to-1. The 2810 is obviously going to be way heavier, but it's going to stay a lot cooler. And it's a physically much bigger motor, so it'll stay cooler because of that. Although it depends on the KV and how hard you fly it and stuff like that. But just the motor size itself of 2810 should be a lot better than 1809 just because of the ratio of width to height. Breezy Does It says, what's your experience flying 4S 3 to 5 inch and 6S 3 to 5 inch? How does that experience compare to lesser sized and lower S rated drone types? Really good question. So when we went from, so 6-ish years ago, when we all moved from 4S to 6S on 5-inch builds, it was a really big deal. We got more runtime and more power. And what that showed us is that 4S was the limitation. If you get both runtime and more power, then there was a serious problem somewhere else, right? Normally, you can either pick. You can get more runtime or you can get more power. More power uses more juice, and so typically you'll get less runtime when you have more power and vice versa. But if you've got a massive amount of resistance somewhere, which was the case on 4S 5-inch, you can actually get both things, more power and more runtime. So for 5-inch builds, it's a no-brainer. 6S is just better in every way. When you start talking about 3-inch builds, we're not pulling. So the reason why that happened is that 5-inch builds were starting to make a lot of power. In the really old days, going back like 9-10 years, we didn't have motors and propellers that would pull enough power to warrant 6S. And so 4S was plenty. Well, over the next few years, as the FPV world really ramped up, we started to get motors and props that were much more powerful, and all of a sudden 4S was what was holding us back. And so that's kind of what happened there. When it comes to 3-inch builds, there are no motors, and there won't be motors because you're not going to run a giant motor on a 3-inch build. It doesn't make any sense. That pull enough to warrant going up to 6S. So basically what 6S does on a 3 or a 3.5-inch build is it cooks ESCs, because you've got all this extra voltage going into the ESC, and a lot of times the ESCs that you put on a micro have much smaller FETs. Everything is closer together. The PCB is thinner, because on a micro, it doesn't make sense to put a giant, beefy 5-inch rated ESC, right? And so on a lot of 3 and 3.5 inch builds, 6S ends up being less reliable. You don't really get any extra runtime because the 4S voltage is not holding us back. We're not putting so much power through 4S that it is a significant bottleneck, basically. What is nice, though, about running 6S on a 3-inch build or 3.5-inch build is that it opens up your motor options. One of the problems we have running 4S is a lot of times there are not motors that are a high enough kV. This is a problem with the manufacturers. The manufacturers aren't making us motors at the right kV, and we can only run what exists. There are a bunch of motors out there that are just a high enough kV for 4S on 3.5 inch rigs. So we're actually fine. But if you want to make more power than what those motors are, or if you want to do stuff like running a 2.5 inch propeller on a heavier, like 3 or 3.5 inch spec sort of build, then you might not have enough kV. At that point, you can just grab like a 5S battery, and it's not going to be so abusive on your ESC as 6S. But I will certainly admit that is the main advantage of 6S on something smaller than 5-inch. When we start talking about 4-inch builds, it's kind of somewhere in between. So like 5S is technically the best option, but don't do that. That's just going to drive you insane. Pick either 4S or 6S, and you'll kind of be fine. So yeah, that's how that kind of breaks down. What does that experience compare to the lesser sized and lower S-rated drone types? I'm not super sure what that part of the question means. Lower S-rated drone types. Like,
I'm assuming like
you said S. I was reading it as C. Sorry. So like 2S, 3S, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Yeah. It just scales. This all just scales right up and down. We run 1S on these infinitely small and lightweight tiny whoops, and it runs completely fine. And then on the bigger stuff, and then as you go bigger, you want more. And so, like, one way to do it is to look at when the bottlenecks kind of happen, right? And so, like, for example, these 1.2 inch builds, there's two reasons that we don't run 2S on these itty bitty 1.2 inch builds. The main reason, I think, is that there are no 2S batteries small enough for this. A 1S 300 mAh battery is the right battery for this. If somebody was to make a 2S 150 mAh battery, it would run like shit. When the cells get to a certain point of milliamp hours, they start to perform worse and worse and worse. And that number is right around 450. A LiPo cell smaller than 450 milliamps starts to just fall apart. It doesn't run. It doesn't work nearly as well as cells that are above 450. We get away with it with tiny whoops because we've had these folded cell batteries for a while, and they've been kind of figuring for probably like 5 years or so, and they've been figuring out the chemistry, and these are okay. They're not great, though. You compare the way that one of these 300s runs versus a 450 mAh 2S or 3S or 4S, and it's not nearly as good, but they're just barely good enough. Hopefully that makes sense. You can really see this in the cold. If you run a battery in the cold, and that's why you on the intro you guys were seeing low battery warnings after like 30 seconds. When it's cold out, the tiny little batteries really struggle. The higher milliamp hour cells still struggle, but not nearly as bad. you can also see this with like sag performance. You know, we charge these 300 mAh batteries all the way up to 4.35 volts per cell. We arm our quads and they're at like 3.9 volts. Like the sag is unbelievable on these smaller cells. Compared to a 450 or a 550 or 450 or above, and like you charge it to 420 and it'll sag to like 410 when you arm it. And so, yeah, there's just something about the smaller lipo pouches, less than 450, that just makes and it gets worse and worse and worse as you go down. So if we were to make a 2S 150 mAh battery, it would sag horrendously and it just wouldn't perform all that well. And so that's one of the main reasons that we stay on 1S with these. The other main reason, though, is that 1S is fine for the amount of power that this powertrain is making. These motors and these props don't make a lot of power. They don't draw a lot of current. And so 1S can keep up without becoming a bottleneck. But once we go up to a 1.6-inch propeller, 1S absolutely, but if we want to make good power to fly outside, 1S absolutely becomes a bottleneck. And I spent like 6 months testing a million different combinations and showing this either last year or the year before. There's loads of live streams about it. And the same exact thing happened with these 1.6-inch builds as 5-inch builds. When the 5-inch build, when we went from 4S to 6S on the 5S builds, we got more runtime and more power. When we went from 1S to 2S on these 1.6-inch builds, we got more efficiency and more power. And that right there is like that is proof positive that you had a the cell voltage was the bottleneck. And so again, that just scales. And what's really nice is like we've figured that out all the way down as small as possible. We've figured it out at 5-inch, and so now you can just draw a line right in between, right? So 1.2-inch and 1.4-inch, 1S, 1.6-inch, 1.8-inch, and 2-inch, 2S, 2-inch, 2.5-inch, 3S, 2.5-inch, 3-inch, 3.5-inch, 4S, 3-inch, 3.5, 4-inch, right? Just draw that line straight up, and it totally works. It's really, really slick. You don't have to overthink it. It's just, and like, you know, this is electricity. That's sort of how electricity works, right? It's not like a mysterious. It's not like PID tuning or black box where it's the mysterious thing. It's pretty sort of solid. You know, there's plenty of people that have figured out electricity over the years, and that's just sort of how it works. Anything else you can think of, Kevin? Oh, I caught him on mute.
I mean, yeah, no, I'm not on mute. I'm just thinking. No, I think the thing that unlocked it's kind of what you were saying. The thing that unlocked 3-inch and especially tiny whoops was not just voltage, but RPM period, or kV, or voltage, and stuff just comes alive. And I did the same thing as you. The like 1S75 builds, they're fine for floating around large indoor spaces. The moment you take them outside, they're like, okay, this is fine for like a cruisy flow, but whatever. And then I did the 2S thing I built that rig probably like October. Oh my god! now I fly that 2S rig all over the park, and it's just amazing.
It's night and day.
And the same thing for the 3-inch. Like my standard kit is Ripsqueak V2 frame, which you can't buy anymore. A 1404 motors on 4600 kV, and a 4S 850. It comes in about 260 grams takeoff weight. And it's just magic, right? It floats right. You can hit the throttle and it boogies like a lightweight 5-inch, and flies like a 5-inch, right? The meme of our entire hobby. really it's that. It's like people are like, oh, 4600 on 4S, isn't that, don't you like burn up motors and desync? And it's like ESC firmware has come a really long way since 2015.
Yeah, for real. So here's a funny example. I forget that we kind of figured this out with 3-inch rigs too. So 7 years ago at Quad Camp here in Atlanta, actually, this is back when I was living in Charleston, I took a 4S 2.5-inch actually rig, very similar to 3-inch though, and everybody in the room, including like Stinger Swarm, Bot, Tommy, oh my god, Joshua, and there was maybe 1 or 2 more pro pilots. None of them had seen 4S on a micro before, and like in that, I just dropped the link in the chat, but this is how you find it on my channel here if you want to take a step back in time. People were hiding behind cardboard sheets and shit. Like when oh, Drew Camden was there too. When whoever it was said like, oh, we're gonna try a 4S rig, everybody was like, oh fuck, I'm out of here. Like people are walking out of the area and they're like, I'm getting out of here. We're gonna die. Like we hadn't, at that time, it was like 2S and 3S on 2.5 on micros. I mean, there weren't many micros in fairness, but like the ones that there were all stuck on 2 and 3S. And then when like I'd been fucking around with 4S for a while, realizing like how good it was. It was like holy shit, okay. And then that's when Tommy and I met, and that's when he launched into the Acrobrat, which was 4S from the jump. That was like seeing that, he was like, oh my god, I didn't realize like we could have this much power in micros, and that's what kind of launched into the Acrobat project, which was super cool. So yeah, we've had multiple moments over the years in FPV where we've like figured out the right voltage for the right prop size. But also, like, I say prop size because that applies to most people. If you're trying to do something nutty, you're gonna have to go outside of those bounds, right? So like these the 300 plus mile an hour rocket ship drones, they're not on 6S because they're trying to go completely over the limit. They're up in like 8S, 10S, 12S or something. So like you have to understand, it's not like the voltage actually has nothing to do with the prop size. The voltage has to do with how much power you want to make. And so if you want to build a 3-inch rig that goes 300 miles an hour, 4S is not right. It's 6S or it's 8S, right? But typically we don't do that. 99% of people, when they're building a 3-inch rig, they're building it to fly out in front of their house or in small parks. And so 4S is going to be perfect for that. And so just understand that, right? Like the prop size actually has nothing to do with it. It's just that most people that build X or Y or Z propeller size are best suited with this amount of power, this amount of power, this amount of power, and there is a certain voltage that is perfect for each power range. And again, if you go, it is admittedly safer to go a little bit too high on the voltage, but there are problems associated with that. It's harder on the ESC. Potentially, you're going to have to run a LiPo with smaller LiPo pouches, and the smaller the LiPo pouch, the worse that battery is going to perform. But as long as you're above 450 mAh, you're kind of fine. Like if you look at like a 1300 mAh pouch versus a 1050 mAh pouch, they're going to perform super similar. And so like the higher kV setup potentially is going to have some advantages. But like, don't just go 6S on everything, right? Building like a 6S 2.5-inch setup, like that doesn't make a lot of sense. You can certainly do it. And if you put a 5-inch rated ESC in there, you'll kind of be fine. But then you've got an ESC that's way more expensive than it needs to be. It's heavier than it needs to be. And so, when we optimize these things, that's one of the things. We're going to optimize a 3-inch build for 4S so we can use a cheaper ESC, a lighter ESC, and we can take that extra weight and put it into a bigger battery or bigger motors, or right? Like, but again, safer bet is always to go like one step higher. But like, here's the thing, 4S to 6S, that's a big jump. technically, like, if you're on the fence about 4S, you should go up to 5S, not 6S. But that sucks because 5S is just annoying. Like,
I had a buddy that was talking about on 3 and 3.5 inch moving up to 5S, and I was like, your battery selection is garbage. Your motor selection is basically, do you want to run a 4S motor on that, or do you want to run a 6S motor on it? They just don't make the KVs that are reasonably appropriate.
yep.
And then you have this like 20 volts, like 20 volts is like right at this weird cutoff in electronics where it's like there's a bunch of stuff made for like 24, so you might as well run 6S anyway, or you can't run it at all because the cutoff is around 16 or 18 volts because it's intended for 4S or something even lower. And so like 5S is it's a hard sell. So you move up to 6S, you get the 50% more voltage over 4S, and then you motor limit down. You might have to do some other tuning too because ESCs start to not like it, and pods get harder to tune when you high on the small stuff. But I'll be honest, I've been tempted by 6S. I keep eyeing some of my builds that are technically 6S capable, but still on a 3-inch prop, and I'm like, maybe I should just see what happens.
Yeah, you could be like me too. I had that exact same experience, and I did that, and it caught on fire on the very first 6S battery. It was totally ready for 6S. Everything was rated for it, and I flew two. It was the Raxus build. Actually, it was right before a live broadcast event. And I flew two 4S batteries in the front yard. Everything was fine. I had a separate profile with lower PIDs for 6S. Everything was great. Put the 6S battery, it flew for like 30 seconds, flew it in front of myself, took the goggles off, and it literally caught on fire right before my eyes, just hovering.
Did you ever
totally
figure
fine
out
in 4S?
what that was? It the flight controller or ESC that caught on fire?
ESC. Yeah, it's still in a bag,
ESC.
actually. It has an 03 on it. It's going to be my third level backup for this now 04 based live broadcast setup. So I will pull it apart. It just stinks so bad.
Yeah, I standardized my flight stacks for my 3-inch between my 3-inch, my 5-inch actually, and my racing rigs back when I was doing that, and so all my flight electronics are 6S capable, and my maybe not all of them. Some of the AIOs that I did in later builds are probably just 4S, but
yeah, and that's funny.
600.
That right there is this ESC on this build actually capable. That's and then you got to keep track. Like this one build is, but this other build isn't, and like of course you're gonna forget and put the wrong battery in the wrong one. So like I don't know. I've tried it enough times where I'm over it. It's 4S for anything smaller than 5-inch and bigger than like 2-inch basically. I also skipped 3S. But I'm going to dive into that just a little bit. Because, again, sometimes there'll be motors that, like a motor that you really want to run, but it's the exact wrong KV. And that, for like, the voltage that you're set up on. And so that's actually a great reason to, like, if you find the perfect motor and it's a KV for 6S instead of 5, or let's say 5S. Let's say you find the perfect motor, but it's kind of like a 5S KV. There is a GNB 5S 550 mAh battery. That's a really good battery for a 3-inch build or a 3.5-inch build. So like if you've got that perfect motor with the perfect KV and you're willing to deal with like, what I don't like about having 5S KV batteries floating around is like, you've got to plug that into the balance port differently than everything else, and like that's just asking to plug it into the balance port wrong and catch the something on fire or hurt something, or and so like yeah, to me it makes a lot of sense to try to standardize shit as much as you possibly can. Hey, I'm about to plug this antenna in, and quick little tip here on your U.F.L, don't leave it like that. Like this is okay, but take a little piece of shrimp wrap and put it over this little bit here and shrimp it down and it'll make the U.F.L. a lot more durable. It's so easy to rip the head off of this U.F.L. This is not gonna, like, if you pull on it hard, it's still gonna rip it off, but like this mainly prevents it from bending sideways like crazy, and it takes like 1 second to do this. So start doing this on all of your antennas before you plug them into your shit, and someday it'll save you a little bit. It also looks cooler. So yeah, there you go. That's how I prep my little tiny antennas. So yeah, there you go. There's a massive answer to a really good question. Thank you for asking that question, Breezy Does. We haven't talked about that in a while. And that's actually like really, really important. Donnie FPV with a $2 super chat. Thank you, dude. Much appreciated for supporting the insanity that is being a full-time FPV donkey. Where are we in chat? You Can FPV says if you direct solder both, then you can rule out the AIO. That is going to be a test that we do in the future here as well. I'm not sure what AIO, but one of these AIOs I'm going to run a bunch of batteries, log the RPMs, the run times, the voltage, all that jazz, and then I'm going to direct solder the motors. I'm looking for an AIO that has the plugs, but then also the pads. And so, yeah, that is going to be a test for sure. It's insane that we haven't done that test yet, but the main reason we haven't done that test yet is that direct soldered motors are super annoying. I find it to be less durable. It is absolutely less serviceable. That's the big thing. It's just infuriating to me. Well, look, 1mm motor shafts on these little rigs are not strong enough. And so when you start crashing hard or often or both, like I do, you go through a lot of motors, and having to completely pull a build apart to get the AIO out just to swap a motor, it just sucks. I also do loads of testing, and so having a direct set of motors direct soldered to an AIO, that's basically a rig that I'm never going to test again, because it's just stupid to pull this all the way apart, direct solder a different set of motors, a different set of motors, a different set of motors, a different set of motors. It's just kind of silly for me personally. If you find a set of motors that you absolutely love and your AIO has a set of pads on it and you're not banging motors up all the time, you know, other than the durability, and you could argue that direct soldered motors are more durable. I have not found them to be. I've found direct soldered motors to break at the joint where right below the AIO more often than the motor plugs break. And so for me personally, for whatever reason, could totally be confirmation bias. Could absolutely be that. I think in the end, I don't think maybe there's not a difference. Maybe it's totally confirmation bias. But yeah, I don't know. It's a little weird that I have not had a single motor plug break in like literally years, but I have had multiple direct soldered motors let go right at the joint where you're soldering it. So I don't know. That seems awful coincidental, but that's a tough one. That's tough to justify. You could certainly argue that I'm not doing a great job soldering. 30 gauge wires on a tiny little board, awful hard to solder. You got to like be instantaneous before you're putting too much heat into it. And it's actually a worse scenario if you spend too little time on there than if you spend too much time. Like, it's way better to spend more time on there than not enough time. Not enough time on the pad and the solder joint ends you with a cold solder joint that will absolutely break. Spending too much time on there, everything flows, but then the solder chases down the wires a little bit, which could be a part of the durability issue. I don't think so. I'm pretty good at soldering, but you know, people on the internet are always smarter than you. So in the comments, certainly there'll be the right answers from strangers that you don't know who they are.
Speaking of strangers, going back to the long range bit that Niafu was asking about, the other place that I would look for long range stuff is on Off Axis Discord, the FPV Your World Discord, where we have such wonderful characters as Mr. Danzilla the Terrible, who is currently in chat, as well as Falconrad. And if you don't know the name Falconrad and you're in long range, you need to do more research. But yeah, a lot of Canadian folks in there, and Canada has big, beautiful open spaces to go fly, and so a lot of them are into long range, especially cinematic long range and mountain surfing style long range.
Thank you for that. I also do, if you're a patron on my Discord, I do have a text channel called Schlong Range because I'm 8 years old. But we don't really post in there all that much. The main person that posts in there is Off Axis. So yeah, hit his Discord for sure. Thank you for that, Kevin. Can you drop a link to that into the chat? Because I know sometimes Discord, it's hard to find.
Yes.
Like, how do you find? Answer. You know Discord better than me. How do you like find other people's shit on Discord? Like you know what I mean?
It's funny.
Like,
for the longest time, they didn't have a centralized directory, and so there were like third-party services that would stitch together directories. In fact, when I first got into FPV, I was like, man, it would be great if there was a Discord where I could actually chat with people because IRC is dead and I'm old. There is an official for community servers, which actually we haven't converted the CiottiFPV Discord to a community server yet. But for community servers, you have the option as a admin or a mod to publish in their centralized directory now, and so and find stuff that way. I usually find I joined a bunch of terrible Discords that I found in random places and then subsequently left. Most of the time, it's people that people gather around mostly like people that are creating content like here and Joshua Bardwell and Off Axis, and then they also gather around brands, so HD0 and Walksnail and Express LRS and Betaflight. Those tend to be the most active Discords that I find, and those are also relatively easy to get into.
Yeah, it's tough sometimes. My God, so yeah, link to Off Axis is in the chat. If you're watching this not live, I will try my best to remember to put a link into a comment. I really wish YouTube would allow you to leave comments now, but I mean, I guess I understand it a little bit. But yeah, there'll be a link to Off Axis's if you're interested in long range. That's where you want to hang out. Cool. I plugged the X14 in. I'll do a couple quick setup things as we continue to get caught up on chat. Nyafu says, nice it arrived. Yep, thank you again. Also says, I ran a set of the Pod Racer motors on a 3-inch last year and got like 10 minutes of flight time. Crazy efficient, but not much power. Yeah, okay. That totally tracks. Donnie FPV, thank you again for the $2 super chat. Uriel says, maybe tomorrow. Yeah, Uriel also sent me a box of goodies. Didn't arrive today. Should be tomorrow, though. CCAD Ryan says, digging the gem magnifying glass. Yeah, if you guys don't have one of these, you need one. This is one of the most important tools in your check your work arsenal. This is just a super simple little 5x loop. You have to hold what's nice about it is the focal distance is really short. So you're already holding the thing really close to you, and then you're getting 5x on top of that. When you first get it, you're probably going to have to like hold it against your eye, but eventually you'll develop the ability to like squint on it and hold it, which is super, super, super nice. You can use this when you're soldering, but the biggest thing with this is every single time you solder anything, you look at your board afterwards with this and you find the little balls of solder that were about to blow your board up. This'll pay for itself like in a week. You can also get these in like 10x, but you probably don't need that. One of the annoying things at first is that when you do this, if you hold the thing up and it's out of focus, you have to move it closer. You have to manually adjust the distance that the thing is that you're looking at. And so that takes a little bit of getting used to. But yeah, you'll get it. You'll get it pretty quick. This is super, super, super important. The headset is also really important. Having a magnified headset that you can use hands-free is also going to have a massive effect on the quality of your work, and it's going to literally pay for itself. But this is only 3.5x, and the focal distance is much longer, which is what you want. You wouldn't want your face up on top of your shit when you're soldering, right? So these are what you use while you're soldering, and then when you're done soldering, you use the 5x loop to really get in close, super, super, super close. It will change everything. It'll change the quality of your soldering, and it'll change how much shit you blow up, because you will find those solder balls. It's really important to be able to see what you're doing. I've had pretty good vision all my life. Now in my 40s, my vision is starting to get a little bit worse, but I still have pretty good vision. The quality of the work that I do went through the fucking roof when I started using those two things. I've had the 5x loop forever. My dad gave it to me way back when, but that magnified 3.5x headset, which is on Amazon or eBay for cheap, that was mind-blowing to be able to have that hands-free while I'm using both hands to solder, so that I can actually see if there's a pad and a wire. I can literally see now if the wire is offset on like a 30 gauge wire on a little tiny Whoop pad. I can now see if it's centered on the pad or if it's off the side of the pad about to bridge to the next pad over. So yeah, super, super, super important stuff. You don't need a lot of stuff to do really good quality soldering. Like, you don't need an Omni Fixo. It certainly helps, but you don't need it. But there are a couple of things that are very, very important. And like, you know, it's going to cost you $30, maybe $40 total. But the first time it saves you a $90 AIO, right? It paid for itself and then some. So yeah. Moton FPV says, thinking about building an ArtLynk 65 Pro, would Weebleed Vegan 802 25,000s be a good choice? They're going to be a little bit too heavy. 65 Pro frame is only going to hold a 300 mAh 1S battery, and an 802. I've done this. I've tried really hard over the years to make a 65 Pro build work, and 802s, 603s, 703s, they're all too big and too heavy. You end up with terrible runtime, and they're not high enough KV either. 702 is the way to go. Or just drop down to 65. The 65 Pro only really works with a very lightweight build. And so putting the artisan setup is going to add 6 grams, just like Walk Snail Light, just like 04 Pro at 7 and 8 grams. And so, oh wow, it won't even let me connect now. What? Hold on. Following problems. Configure version does not support firmware 4.6. What a pain in the ass. All right, hold on.
Yeah. Have you upgraded? Well, 4.6 isn't a thing. Have you upgraded any rigs yet to 2025-12?
Hell no.
I actually discovered the first thing that I have to upgrade for.
What's that?
So on my 2S 75 builds, they don't like to start spinning the props when I spin up. It's a dynamic idle. Like, when I enable dynamic idle, it won't idle correctly. Well, so there's a CLI thing that I can go and mess with, which I'm probably not going to do. I'm just going to go directly to the thing that does what I would expect, which is when you enable dynamic idle in 2512, you can set in the static, what was previously the static idle percentage.
Yeah.
Use that box to set your idle percentage prior to liftoff. And so it's
okay. That's
obviously
cool.
tunable now. Yeah. Instead of having to go dig around in the CLI.
That's pretty slick. That is pretty slick right there. So this is the X14 that's plugged in right now. Happymodel has said, hey, all of the black box problems are fixed by updating it to 2015, blah, blah, blah. So this is actually going to need to get updated. It's on 4.6 right now, but there are weird black box issues. If you're going to do that, friends, do yourself a huge favor, like I just did, and before you update anything, if it's a somewhat working rig, take a screenshot of the ports tab, because now you won't have to try to figure out which UART TBS Smart Audio is on and which UART the Serial RX is on. I mean, to be honest, if you really want to save yourself some time, just take screenshots of all, not all the tabs, but like ports, configuration, maybe power and battery, maybe PID tuning, maybe filter settings. Because when you update, a lot of times it'll wipe out. This is more important on a bind and fly. But still, if you just buy a flight controller or an AIO, this is still a really good idea. Don't assume that when you update something, it's going to have anything filled in properly. It could be absolutely defaulted out, and in some cases that's not a good thing. Mainly it's the ports tab, but you might as well take some screenshots of some of this other shit just to kind of save yourself. You can try to do a diff, or in the presets you can save a backup, but if they've changed something between the version of Betaflight that this is on and the new version in the CLI, like the way that something is named, that's going to be a bit of a pain in the ass. And so taking the screenshots is like kind of a no-brainer. It's easy to do. They're nice to have kind of floating around. You wouldn't really need to do the modes tab because you know how your modes are set up. Motors tab, I don't think you need to do it in here. There's nothing in here that's going to be crazy. OSD you're going to reset up. So yeah, it's mainly going to be like the ports tab. I guess maybe the configuration tab. Maybe there's something wacky set up in here. Power and battery tab, definitely, because a lot of times when these flight controllers come, they have the voltage meter scale dialed in specifically. And if you update the firmware... So what happens is, like, this specific AIO might use the same target as like 4 other AIOs. And on each one of those AIOs, the voltage meter scale might be a little bit different. And so you go in and you update it. Well, now it's going to push the generic firmware on there, and that might not have the exact right voltage scale for this specific AIO. It also might have a different port setup, so you lose that port setup, and with an AIO, it's kind of annoying to figure that out. You can't just look at a silkscreen thing with wires coming off of it because they're all internal, right? It's all internal traces. So now you got to go to like the website, or you got to try to find the old firmware. It's just annoying. So there you go. There's a quick tip for you. So yeah, Moton, that's going to be a tough build, man. If you do that build the way you're talking about doing it, HD system, right? Extra bunch of weight, 65 Pro frame, 802 25,000s, you're going to end up with something that has very low runtime and not a lot of power either. So it's just going to be able to cruise around because it's not going to have the power, but then it's not going to really have runtime either. And so like you should kind of have either. If you don't have a lot of power, you should have a lot of runtime. If you have a lot of power, maybe you won't have a lot of runtime. So that's going to be a tough build. I think you should pick, either go up another step to a 75 millimeter setup, and now you can go 2S, and now you're going to have something that absolutely rips and has really good runtime. Or you want to go down and save absolutely as much weight as you possibly can with a 1.2 inch build. You want like a light AF frame or the Beta Air 65 V2 frame. You want super light 702 motors, like 32,000 kV, because you're going to need the minimum, because you're going to need the power. I would go with a Weebleed or Tiny Whoop or Happymodel motor because they tend to be more efficient. And so that's where you want 32,000 kV minimum. And you got to try to save weight everywhere. The lightest canopy you possibly can. That's going to be a much better kind of setup than the 65 Pro. The 65 Pro works. if you keep it super lightweight on analog with 702s, and like that's it. That's the only scenario where that frame and prop size actually flies properly and doesn't like punish you with really low run times or not enough power, yada yada yada. Make sense? I'm gonna unplug this X14 because it's already 11:15 and we got to start doing some of the testing. I am done switching this thing over. Let's see what that did to the all-up weight. So I took off the ORT Micro V antenna. I took off the Mobula 6 canopy. I took out the Runcam Nano 3 camera. I put on a Bri-Brain canopy, NubiDrone BI camera, and stupidly lightweight little janky wire antenna. And we went from 19.2 grams, that sucks, to 18.9. We only saved 0.3 grams. So what's cool though is that these two builds are now identical. And so 18.9 grams with a 2G4 AIO versus 18.3 grams with a Hummingbird V2 AIO. So there you go. There's the difference that an AIO makes. These are on the same frame with the same motors, same propellers, same camera mount, same antenna setup. The Hummingbird AIO is pretty lightweight. Not as lightweight as the one on the race, but who wants to deal with direct soldering, all that jazz? I guess there is a difference. NX69 on the Hummingbird versus BT 2.0 here, but they're probably pretty much the same weight. So these aren't the exact same weight, but what's cool is, in theory, the Hummingbird AIO with the smaller plugs is going to have more resistance, and this is a little bit lighter. This is 0.5 gram lighter. The 2G4 with the bigger plugs, in theory, has the resistance advantage, lower resistance, but it's a little bit fatter. So this is actually kind of a cool test. If the, if you were betting, it would be a pretty good bet to say that this kind of evens out in the wash. But let's find out, because these batteries are done charging. So the batteries also do have a little bit of an effect on this, and this is one of the other reasons that I haven't tested this yet, is that I didn't know for a fact that the NX69 batteries didn't like help things. On the 12-hour stream and then on the Lava V2 battery testing stream, we collected a whole heap of data, and the data really showed us that the Weebleed 300 mAh batteries and the NX69 300 mAh batteries perform pretty much identical. The Lava V2 batteries outperformed both. But yeah, the Weebleeds and the NubiDrone Nitro Nectar Gold with NX69s were super similar. So now we know that the battery itself and the plug is not a part of this sort of equation here. So this is a somewhat accurate test that we're about to do, in my opinion. Wayne Hunter with a $10 super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, CiottiFPV, if you wrote a book, I'd buy at least 2. Also, I did a super chat during the lava giveaway and was not in the drawing. Do I need to be a member? You do not need to be a member. I missed that. The lava giveaway yesterday, I'm guessing. Not yesterday. Friday. I will be sure to get you into the next one. So it's... Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the website. I'm going to just get this ready. And Wayne, how many entries did you buy? 1 or 2? I'm going to put you in here for 1. Let me know if it was 2. I'm just going to leave this tab opened. And on Wednesday's live stream this week, we'll do another one of those lava battery giveaways. And you'll be on here. So sorry about that, but we'll get you in here. Thank you for the super chat. The book thing... a couple of folks have done FPV books. I've been lucky enough for them to have reached out to me during that process and ask questions and get some good info and whatnot. I've talked to both of these people about the process. and it's brutal. FPV is not big enough where if you're lucky, you'll break even. I'll put it that way. You're going to spend a heinous amount of time, and then to just break even, like that's a huge, like if you're just doing it for the love and the passion of it, awesome. You broke even, you didn't spend any money, but you put all that time in. I don't have that. I don't have 100 hours to put into a book to just barely break even. If I knew that I could make, 10 grand from 100 hours of work, that might be realistic, but it's just not going to happen. Like the FPV world is not big enough, and people, quite frankly, don't buy books anymore, right? And so it's going to be a super niche thing. So yeah, FPV Flight Dynamics is the name of the one book that I believe it was Christian Malika wrote.
Yeah, that's right.
It's floating around here somewhere. And then FPV Guide has a bunch of excellent little books here. Let me grab one of them. Ray Noland is his name, and he has done a bunch of these little books, and they are phenomenal. I think he has 4 of these now. They are really, really, really good. They have lots of good info.
6.
He's up to 6. Oh my God, good for him.
He did edition 4 was on 5-inch, edition 5 was on Whoops, and then the most recent one was on soldering. Everybody's favorite, soldering.
Good for him. Ray is a incredibly hardworking dude, doing something super cool, and support him. One of the things I love about those books is they have they are going to serve as an archive for the electronics that the internet. So the 2G4, let's take the Happymodel 2G4 AIO for example. 10 years from now, nobody will sell the 2G4 anymore, and the product pages with all of the wiring diagrams are going to go away. I believe the 2G4 is pretty good about having the pads silk screened what they are, but if there's a pad that's not silk screened what it is, now what, right? And so Ray's books have component drawings of these things with those all listed out, and so his books will someday be like the archives for the old electronics that we have kicking around, right? And I've already run into this a bunch of times in the last few years, where I'll pull a flight controller out of my box of flight controllers, and I'll search, and it won't have a couple of pads silk screened, and I'll search the internet for it, and I won't be able to find a single product page with it. And I'm just like, well, now what, right? And so this is going to become more and more of a problem as time goes on. Yeah, support Ray, man. What's his is it just FPV Guide, I'm assuming?
I dropped the link in chat.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
FPV-guidebook.com.
That's it. FPV guidebook. Yeah, support Ray, man. Jump onto his Instagram, subscribe to that. Just do whatever you can to support him, cuz like I said, he's an awesome dude. Tell him I sent you. He's a great guy. He actually wanted I guess like a year or two ago, he contacted me and said, "Hey, do you want to like collaborate with me on one of these books?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I would love to do that, but like I know that that's gonna take time, and I'm just like at the limit." He contacted me in the middle of the summer, and that's when I actually have flying gigs, and I really have to prioritize those. And it kind of fell by the wayside, and I feel bad about it, but like, yeah, I'm pretty hammered time wise, and so it's tough to find the time for that kind of stuff. But I love that he's on his 6th book. That's absolutely fantastic. Good for him. CMYK worked with him for a little while and said he was just such a great guy. I talked to him here and there a little bit, but CMYK did a bunch of the illustrations. And he was telling me one day, he's like, "Dude, that guy doesn't stop. He just works and works and works and like just cranks stuff out. It's wild." And that makes sense. Like what he's doing, like writing a book with all this technical info and then dealing with like publishing and getting it produced, like that takes loads of time. So we're very lucky to have people like him in the FPV world that are willing to do the hard thing. Kevin, can you figure out where we left off so that I can put some goggles on and start testing this?
Yeah, let's
hammer me
look.
with the rest of the chat. I was hoping I'd be able to get caught up, but there are a lot of good questions. All right, let me get a battery in this transmitter here.
Let's see. Nice, it arrived. We're gonna set up. Excuse me. Do we get Niafu's pod racer?
Yes. I think that's where we left off.
All right. Let's see. Uriel says maybe tomorrow.
Yes. Oh, actually, all right. We got a little bit farther than that.
Digging the gym magnifying glass. SCKAD Ryan.
All right, so yeah, we did get a little farther than that.
Did get a little farther.
We are at.
Yeah.
Just a shy guy says, hey, that's new. Perk 27, Yafu.
I think we got that much.
Here we go. We got to Moton FPV, the ArtLynk.
Okay, yeah, that's where I thought we were. Thinking about building an ArtLynk 65 Pro. Would We Bleed Vegan 0802 25Ks be a good choice?
Yeah, so that's where we left off. So we're good. Nyafu says, I think I'm going to go with the 2810 1180 so I can maybe chase some supercars with it as well. Fast, not so long, 5-inch run out of battery. Nice. Okay. Yeah, 2810. That's a good motor size. I'll bet. Nyafu says dyslexia is going crazy. All right, cool. There we go.
All right.
First up is I'm just gonna bounce back and forth. One, then one, then one, then one, then one. First up is gonna be the Hummingbird. So basically, what we're testing here is the smaller motor plugs and the Hummingbird AIO. When I switch over to the other rig, we're gonna be testing the 2G4 AIO with the bigger motor plugs. We're trying to see which the motors are all the same, props are the same, all up weight is pretty close. So we're gonna look at RPM, runtime, ending battery voltage.
Right. Nyafu says, Ciotti, that seems awfully low. I know people who fly 10-inch on 1050 kV, but I've heard the default motor on it is a bit small. I think he might have been replying to me on the 2807 because that's the default on the Mario 8.
Okay, yeah, the Mario 8. Got it. I was going to say, default on what?
Yeah.
Got it.
Perk27 says, Ciotti, any idea if a Pavo 20 Pro with an 04 Pro will get shipped into the US? Or is there a huge risk in doing that right now?
Nah, you'll be fine. I mean, there's always a risk, but right now it's just about things that look like Mavics, things that look like, they're going to X-ray this shit. And so if it looks like a Mavic or if it looks like a Phantom, not a Phantom, but yeah, anything FPV related, I think is pretty damn safe. The 04 air units and the 03 air units are just going to show up as a little brick, right? And it could be a walk snail brick, or it could be a Vista. It could be like anything. And so I can't imagine. I could totally be wrong about this for the record, but I can't imagine a world where they'll be able to, tell other than like this is obviously a Mavic or whatever the other DJI bind and flies are. Big plugs and wait 2G4 big plugs. There we go. Did I answer that whole question?
I think so.
All right, cool.
So, all right. Niafu says, Ciotti, what filaments do you use? I highly suggest trying PCTG. They're about $27 a spool. And I have crazy good properties with zero warping.
Is that TPU?
Oh, it's PCTG is it is similar to PETG. but is supposed to be better in basically every way.
Oh shit! I almost never print not TPU.
Yeah, Richard stuff.
The name that I've set for the A1 Mini is literally TP Unit. It's called the TP UNIT. So yeah, I bought one spool of PETG, and I'm not even like a quarter of the way through it. But if I do get through it, I will. What is it called again? Hit me with that one more time.
PCTG.
Huh. Very cool.
Papa Charlie Tango Golf.
All right, here we go. Full throttle run. First. Oh god.
Jeremy,
Yeah, keep feeding me.
Jeremy Fly, you scared me, man. Jeremy Fly says, Ciotti, is it difficult to add motor plugs to a direct solder? Oof.
Yes, very.
I've done it. I've done it too. You can buy the like other side of the plugs that come on like crimped connectors. It's a mess once you do it.
Yeah, it's super annoying, and you're getting all of the negatives and none of the positives kind of thing. 55,512. Let's get this going. 55,512. All right, and now we just run the rest of the battery out and see what the runtime. I'm going to try to catch it at 3.5 per cell.
Angela the Terrible says, actually this is multi-chat one, so let me see if I can catch this all. Everyone coming to Vancouver, Canada in June for a long range up some gorgeous mountains and tighting looping downtown. FPV, the city, Vancouver. Fly with Falcon Rad, off-axis, and best of all, me!
There you guys go. I'm
Trying,
going to try to get to that, but...
Trying to rope in CiottiFPV 2.
Yeah, I would love to go, but Jesus, it's I got a weird feeling this year is going to be about surviving rather than thriving. If you guys catch my drift.
Let's see.
Man, I'm having a hard time tonight.
Uriel says, CiottiFPV, if you need a real small whoop good, you go to your goat at CiottiFPV. I think he was making just a general comment.
Agreed.
It's the goat with the goat right here. Just a Shy Guy says, Ciotti, those glasses I sent you on Discord have 0.75 through 5x. They're dope.
Yeah, he sent me they're Yaktasuns like these, but they're much they're super like slimmed down and much more comfortable looking. Less like a magnified headset and more like a just set of glasses. Can you drop a link in Discord to that, brother, so that we can show everybody? Because yeah, the magnified headset that I've been using, like, it's totally fine, but like there's no reason for it over what you found there. And having even more magnification would be awesome. I ran this too long. 2 minutes and 23. It'll be fine. Yeah, those looked really good, dude. Good find on those. 2 minutes 23. And let's see what the voltage bounces back to. 3.68. It's probably going to stay at 3.68. Give it another second here. Yeah, it's holding at 3.68. All right, cool. Now we're going to swap. We're going to go over to the 2G4 build.
I'm personally waiting on you, Ciotti, to discover the wonder that is soldering through a microscope.
Oh my god, yeah. Even more magnification would be nice. But then, like, isn't it a nightmare? Because if you move anything a millimeter, it flies off the screen like its pants are on fire.
That's why you have tape.
Yeah, fair enough.
Also, if you're taping your board, you're less likely to get spotter splatter elsewhere too. So
Indeed. Joshua was actually just talking about that. He was like, use Kapton tape. I'm in the comments like, just use masking tape. Nobody's got Kapton tape.
I saw that comment. I was like, yep. I have bunches of rolls of Gaffords tape. And so that's what I use.
Sure.
Although,
yeah, that's it. My father is horrified that I don't tape components down with masking tape. That's one of the earliest things that he told me. And I just have never really done. But with the OmniFixo and with this silicone work mat, like, other than preventing solder balls, which, boy, I have not had one in a long time. Yeah, it's all good.
Did you see Joshua's most recent video about the OmniFixo knockoff?
I was literally watching it as the intro was playing. It looked pretty damn good.
It's
$10, my God.
And I want to give the OmniFixo people the money because they invented the thing.
Totally.
I actually saw that knockoff on Amazon a couple of weeks ago. I was like, that feels not good.
It feels bad, but if you're not gonna buy the OmniFixo, at least buy that thing. 62,375. Okay. Yeah, the small plugs might be a problem.
10 to 12% more.
Holy hell, dude. We went from 55 to 62. There's a chance that I just did a much better full throttle rip on this, but
that's 12%, yeah. That
is a big difference. Also, these are very powerful motors. I forgot to mention this. So these are the Newbie Drone Hummingbird 0702 30,000s. These are some of the most powerful tiny whoop motors that we've got. And so if you're not running as powerful of a motor, you will probably not have as drastic of a difference here. But this is kind of perfect because our testing methodology is, like, I'm not going to say bad, but it's we're not using calibrated equipment. Let's just say that, The most calibrated equipment we're using are my fingies.
Uriel says, Ciotti, print a solder sucker tool. I'm pretty sure that's solder sucker, not solder. See you soon. With PC, that would be polycarbonate FA. AB, that's fiber? Carbon fiber? On USB. Okay, Uriel lost me on that one.
It happens.
Actually, the best solder sucker, if you're getting a mechanical springback solder sucker, the Engineer solder sucker it would be my pick. It's a little more expensive than the like plastic tube jobbies that you get on Amazon, but it's a lot better. I'm eyeing that Hacko rework solder sucker. It's like got a vacuum pump and stuff on it.
Oh my God. That sounds pretty slick. Holy Christ.
Oh yeah. When you're doing a bunch of through holes or need to suck up a bunch of solder around the board, it's so nice. And I work on mechanical keyboards sometimes.
Oh, sure. I'm going to fly this down a little bit farther.
Let's see. BKirk74 says Ciotti AliExpress has $7 OmniFixo knockoffs we were just talking about.
Sweet. All right, so I got it down to 218. Well, I got the time up to 218. Let's see where the voltage goes. Why didn't I do this the other time I was doing the testing? 3.67, perfect. 3.68. 3.68. Okay, so run times look like they're sort of evening out. 223 to 218, but we got two more of each type of battery. So let's just keep going.
FPV says, Ciotti, my OG Mob 6 came back with a 2G4 0802 and an ant cam with ballsack canopy. Very heavy, boy. Haha, but what I learned on.
Yeah, the ultimate freestyle tiny whoop was always 18 point something grams. I was very weirded out to see this 19 gram thing, so I got to figure that out. But like, we've gotten very spoiled by these 16 point something, 17 point something gram builds.
I think I saw a Tokyo Dom build that was 12 grams.
Yeah, that shit's crazy. I mean, it's very cool. Don't get me wrong. Very fucking cool. But there are going to be major sacrifices. And these heavier builds, like, they have good momentum, right? Kind of like the heavier 5-inch builds. And so you can kind of argue that. All right, that was a good full throttle blast. If that didn't get to 60,000 RPM, I don't think this ever is going to. So yeah, like you certainly don't want to be flying like a 20+ gram build like what we used to have. All right, newbie drone, I need your OSD to come back, please. I really need your OSD. I need it.
Oh, like, newbie drone.
Right now. I can't rearm this without losing the RPM that we just did. Please, newbie drone, please.
I do not understand why they haven't switched to the all software OSD and away from their OSD, their special OSD chip that likes to go brain dead.
I'm horrified right now. I'm pushing on the board. It's not working.
You didn't flick the OSD profile switch on your transmitter, did you?
Nope. I've been bouncing that back and forth. No, it always comes back. It doesn't just go away like this forever. Come on. If I rearm it, I will lose whatever RPM that was. Oh, there it was.
Yep.
Oh shit! I must have hit. Slip slop forward. Oh no! Is there a way to get back into the OSD screen? Oh, you fuckers! All right, well,
you
I
had
lost
stick
it.
overlay on your OSD profile.
Yeah. I wanted to even these things up. All right, so I'm gonna pull this battery. I'm gonna put the other fresh battery on. I'm gonna put this battery back on the charger, and hopefully the OSD will stop being a jerk. Damn, that was a good one too. I got it nose down. I got a full length run. Let's see if I can get it again. All right, charging. Next battery. Here we go.
Frank Nicholas says, CiottiFPV Sports Ball UI. I assume that's Iowa University football. Just won their first ever championship. Ended the season 16-9.
16-9, and they won the championship. That's pretty cool.
Wayne Hunter says, Ciotti, I need you to write it the FPV Bible. You could do it with ChatGPT.
Yeah, right. Take you 10 minutes.
G6J79K says, Ciotti, crazy that 2G4 is still relevant.
Indeed, it is.
That
was a pretty good run.
Fox says, CiottiFPV, speaking of AIOs, I got 2 Hummingbird Race V2 whoops coming from the old stream. You would not update to Blue Jay from what's on it.
Hold on. I'm going to need you to read that one again. 56,129. It's not looking good for the small plugs. Hit me with that one more time. Let's fly this the rest of the way out.
The thrust of the question is the two Hummingbird Race V2 whoops that Whoop Fox has coming from the old stream you did, where you would not update Blue Jay from. What is it on? I assume that's which ESC firmware are those on?
It's going to be either 0.16 or 2.1. Jesus. Man, I'm flying like a box of smashed assholes tonight, and the OSD is gone again, which I have to figure out because I won't know when to land. Yeah, it should be either 0.16 or 0.21. Those are the two Blue Jay firmware types that I really am into.
And to quote you, YouTube just did the thing, scrolling back up. Let's see. Got that. And really, did we not have? Okay, there we go. You can FPV. Says, Ciotti, thoughts on direct soldering motor wires to the pins of the plug. Like, clip the plastic away, bend the pins apart to solder them. That's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, what's it gonna, like, why not just remove the pins, though, at that point?
A little bit easier to solder to, assuming that you don't melt the solder that the pin is in at the board. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. That would drive me completely insane. I would just remove the pin. But, yeah, I mean, and you're, like, I don't like, oh, boy, I almost just hit myself. I don't like soldering wires to wires or like wires to pins. Like I want to go from a wire to a pad. And so that would drive me a little bit insane, but yeah, I mean, it's doable. The middle pin is going to be a pain in the ass. I'll tell you that, because they're pretty close together.
If you do it, do that one first.
Yeah. That would be the move for sure, is go to that one first. Good call. Yeah, you could do it. You could totally do it. I would only really do it, though, on a board that doesn't have, like... A lot of times they'll have pads where the pins go through, but some of them will have, like, no real pad there. And so that... If you have a board like that, then yeah, I can kind of see that. I can see doing it. But if you've got a board with, like, some decent-sized pad above there, I would get those pins out.
Let's see. Just a Shy Guy says, CiottiFPV, I threw it up in general nonsense.
What's it?
I think that's the... Is he the one that has the Yocto goggles?
Yes. Good call. Thank you.
Z-Bone says, what's up?
2 minutes and 33. What's up, dude? How the hell are you? Where's he at? I want to see him. I want to see the letters.
1140. Mr. Z-Bones.
There he is. Look at this fucking guy coming to hang out.
He didn't tag you correctly, but because I have chat highlighting set up, I'm able to see it.
I'm gonna make Z-Bones. I'm making you a moderator. Don't moderate. I'm just doing it so that your name will be in blue.
Somatic Cinema says hi.
Somatic is in the house as well, dude. Bunch of OGs hanging. What's up, fuckers?
Sporny FPV says, CiottiFPV, go into settings and exit out again.
What does that mean?
I think that's from your OSD problems. So do the pitch up.
No,
and
when the OSD goes away, you can't, like, there's just nothing there. 3.66. Okay, 3.66. No, this is a physical problem that we're running into here. This is, yeah, I don't know. Newbie drones, their OSD is very, very, very weird. I've been fixing the problem so far tonight by pushing on the camera plug, which is very weird. But yeah, it's Newbie drones OSD issues are a bit of a nightmare, if I'm completely honest. And it didn't seem like it was that bad for a little while, but like lately it's been kind of bad. So I don't know, dude. It's as much as like the Hummingbird is a really cool bind and fly, the OSD problems are a bit much. And so I'm really starting to lean away from recommending them until they fix the OSD shit.
Uplift FPV says blow out the cartridge.
There it is. That's the
move.
solution. That's it.
It doesn't ruin your NES cartridges at all. No.
So I'm gonna do a little bit less of a full throttle run here on the 2G4 rig. So that was not as big of a run. That was definitely not as clean of a run as I got with the Newbie drone rig a second ago. But I want to see what... Yeah, see, no. 62,000 again. 62,167. The small plugs are... What's interesting is that the small plugs don't seem to be limiting the runtime, but they're definitely limiting the... either the small plugs or the AIO. Could be either or. Shouldn't be the AIO, though, because the Newbie drone AIOs have higher amp rated FETs.
And FET ratings are like C ratings, man.
Yeah, true. Very true.
He didn't tag you, but really good bad boy says it's not recorded in black box ?
What's it?
Presumably the stats that you're looking at.
Oh.
Do either of these boards have black box?
No.
So
But
doesn't matter anyway.
The question remains. Yeah, wait. No, Black Box does record RPM. It does not record runtime or voltage, though. So there's the actual answer to the question. But yeah, most tiny Whoop boards don't have black box. Very rare for a tiny Whoop board to have black box.
It's getting a little more common since they're moving off the F411s.
Yeah, it's really good to see it starting to pop up. Because it's super handy. So much so that I'm actually starting to use it.
FPV says, Ciotti, damn, neither of my Hummingbird V4 boards had any OSD issue. They worked flawlessly.
Yeah, I was not having any issues for a while, and now I am.
Okay, there are 3 comments in a row from 3 different people about this. So Uplift FPV says, wait, how did he get his logo in the top? Custom fonts? Question mark?
Yeah! That is the work of the evil genius Kelvin Knudsen. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. And I think it's the coolest thing ever.
Somebody just recently did a video on custom analog fonts.
218.
Was it Spider? Or Spider Sugar? Or
3.7.
Somebody just did one recently that I saw. Or I just saw it recently, so that it might be a, NBC Thursday news, new to you sort of deal.
Yeah, right. I'm going to fly this battery down a little bit more.
All right, let's see. Oh, I've run out of highlights, so let's fix that.
Oh, shit.
Uriel says, CiottiFPV, we are insane already.
It's true, aren't we all? All right, so 2 minutes and 32.
Kirk74 says, Ciotti, how did you get that image? Never. Everybody wants to know. Everybody wants the juice. By the way, if you're running digital, I don't think you can do that, except maybe on HD0, but you definitely can't do it on Walksnail or DJI without hacking firmwares.
All right, I'm doing another battery on this same rig because the NX69 battery is not done on the charger quite yet. But it's looking pretty sort of definitive here. That the small plugs are limiting the amount of power that we can access, but they're making the runtime a little bit longer, maybe because, oh, maybe not, but maybe because we can't get as much power. But like when it asks for the power, it sends the power somewhere. If that power gets cooked off as heat from the smaller plugs having higher resistance, you don't get that power back. So we'll see. But it's starting to look pretty definitive that the small plugs are limiting the total power output, which is not super surprising.
I got somebody asking me to go dig up the video. It was in fact Spider Sugar 2 months ago. I am dropping the link in chat for making your own custom analog FPV OSD.
Amazing.
And yeah, I mean it's a fascinating process. But
Does it look difficult? Wait, you haven't seen it yet.
It's not at all. No, I watched it a few. I watched a little bit of it. I'm remembering this now. There is a website, osd.vitroidfpv.com. Doesn't Vitroid have other stuff on there, like a KV converter or something?
I'm not familiar with the name Vitroid.
Yeah.
So one was only 59,000, but it's 59,900, which is still higher than the Newbie drone did. We'll do one more battery with the Newbie drone, but I think we kind of have our answer here.
I've seen this website before.
I will say this, the Newbie drone build still makes really good power. Like, yeah, okay, we're leaving a couple thousand RPM on the table, but yeah, I don't know. Most people don't necessarily need this much power. These are really fucking powerful motors. Like these Hummingbird 0702 30,000s are maniacal.
FPV says, Ciotti, I mentioned the plug thing because I know someone who does that because he has killed a few AIO trying to direct solder motors.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, okay. The pins will absorb some of the heat to keep the heat from dumping into the... as much of the heat dumping into the AIO, and or be just easier to solder to and not bridge to the next pad over.
If you're soldering on an AIO that has electrical components very near the pads for the motors, or really anything, break out your Kapton tape and Kapton tape that down. Kapton tape will give you some heat shield. It's not foolproof, but it will give you some heat shield from soldering temperatures to let you get in and out without messing up anything, or less likely to mess up anything. It'll also hold stuff in place too. So if you do loosen the solder, you liquefy the solder that it's keeping it attached, it is much more likely to go back in place once it cools.
I need to get some goddamn Kapton tape.
Brother, it's cheap. Just get you a roll.
There's no reason not to have it.
Get like 2-inch wide, and you can. It makes it really easy to tape over 20 by 20 electronics, even 25 by 25, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the 2 inches.
I just use masking tape. I mean,
wide.
I haven't used tape in a long time, but 3.67. Yeah, I think we have our answer, but we're still going to fly this last battery. Well, this battery is not... It doesn't say done on the charger, but it's sitting there at 4.35, so we're fine. It's close enough. I doubt that this battery is magically going to pull an extra 3,000 RPM. God, it's even more than that. 55,000, 56,000, all the way up to 62. My God, what a difference!
FPV says, Ciotti, I'm pretty sure I can do it. That's in reference to the OSD.
Ah, nice.
Metal Dirt in Skin says, Ciotti, I think for one like yours, I got to split the logo into a few custom characters, ? Something like that, ?
Yes, that's what Calvin did. Calvin set it up so that the exclamation point, apostrophe, pound symbol, percentage symbol, and ampersand, the end symbol, those are the different parts of the logo, and you can actually see it on the end screen. Right here. That should say 99%, but it has the FP. So yeah, you have to replace certain characters, and so pick characters that are the least used or whatever. All right, last shot, newbie drone.
Sporty FPV says, Ciotti, what's your opinion on using a double BT20 to XT30 adapter on 2S? I have too many unused 1S bats.
It totally works. To get it even cleaner, you can go to 54. Ugh. 5468 something. 54683 maybe. Even cleaner though, Betaflight sells a double plug, and so you can direct solder that, and that way you don't have the extra resistance of the XT30. The only problem with doing that is eventually you're going to have one bad 1S battery, and every time you put that bad 1S battery with a not bad 1S battery, it's going to hurt it. And so what you end up doing is hurting all of your batteries as bad as the worst battery, if that makes sense. And so it's totally doable, and it'll absolutely work. But yeah, it's gonna wear your batteries down a little bit. So what you want to do to prevent that is fly all of those batteries, and try to figure out which ones are kind of bad and keep them out of the rotation. And then you want to continue to fly those batteries on your 1S builds and look for that one battery that you get shorter run times or that sags worse. Unfortunately, we don't really have anything that'll measure the internal resistances of these batteries.
I was about to mention, so the only reason I keep one of the breakout boards that goes from like XD60 and balance connector to BT20 and PH20 is so that I can do the per cell internal resistance.
Yep.
I think those are still made. I don't know where you would get one from these days. They kind of fell out of fashion. You can make your own too. Just need the connectors and some wire and some time.
I can't believe that none of the we've got all these fucking BT 2.0 charging boards now. I cannot believe that not one of them has that built in. We should actually all message Vifly and tell them to put that onto their V4. That would be a legitimate reason to buy a V4. They could sell a lot of them with that functionality built in, but we need to tell them to put it in there because obviously they're not going to do it.
I'm going to look up
They
their
made 3 of the damn
contact
things.
info right now.
That would be amazing. Yeah, we might as well.
Contact us.
Oh, if this battery down too far.
Sales and business. Yeah. Or support.
I think I threw this battery a little bit too far down.
Support at viflydrone.com. Everybody email them. Everybody right now. Don't give them any context. Just right now, go and put in, hey, in your next Whoop store and Tooth store, you need to put in internal resistance. And just that. And send it.
And please, for the love of God, we have no way of telling if our Tiny Whoop batteries are ruined or not.
Just do it and send it. Send it.
I have a hard time even just hearing people that I care about saying it.
I know, it's hilarious. Especially because it's a totally different context.
Yeah, I know, right? You're so much better than that, Kevin. All right, so in fairness, that last battery performed significantly worse, and it was not saying done on the charger, so I think that last battery is a bit of a... we kind of have to throw that last battery out. But, look, man, this is a massive difference. This run right here, this high RPM run right here, was not nearly as good as any of these high RPM runs, and it was still 5,000 RPM higher than this second run that I did on the Newbie Drone Hummingbird with the small plugs. This was a good high RPM run, and it only turned 56,000. So I think it's pretty obvious that the small plugs, which I think the small plugs are called JST 1.0, and then the bigger plugs are called JST 1.25. It doesn't really matter. You can, small versus big plugs. Newbie Drone and Emax are the only ones that use the small plugs. Everybody else uses the big plugs, and this is pretty damning. 7,000 RPM difference here, right? Like that's pretty gnarly. What's interesting though is that the runtimes aren't too bad on the Newbie Drone small plugs. So yet again, Newbie Drone is totally fine for newbies, but for those of us chasing every little bit of extra performance, it's the big plugs. I mean, we've always gravitated towards the big plugs because it's not a nightmare having to resolder these things on. So I don't think this is really groundbreaking, but like in terms of what bind and fly do I buy? OSD problems, the little plugs. That's a tough one. I love Newbie Drone. They've got the here's what I will say. They've got the Hummingbird Race, which is ridiculous. So like if you want to go full tilt banana pants at some point, the Hummingbird setup with those race motors direct soldered, that's going to be bananas. But you can just get those motors and put them on like any other AIO. The Hummingbird, I will say, it absolutely has nice pads on it to make direct soldering motors a little bit easier. I would not want to take a 2G4 and remove the plugs and solder to the little tiny holes for the plugs. So 2G4 is not the answer for direct soldering motors. There are Betaflight and now the G473 has nice big solder pads. There are AIOs out there that have pads that make it easy for you to direct solder to. So yeah, if you're gonna buy something from Newbie Drone, it's gonna be the Hummingbird Race, so that you buy something with somewhat of a warranty that's full tilt, super lightweight, like banana pants power, direct soldered motors, unbelievably lightweight, 16 point something grams, I think. This regular Hummingbird you buy because it's got cool LEDs on it, I think. And so, like, I guess if somebody's getting started, but like the OSD problems are going to be maddening. I don't know. I don't know why you would buy the regular Hummingbird. Other than the LEDs. The LEDs are just like here. There's 4 of them. They look super cool. Here, look how cool this is. Whee! Oh, do I have them turned off? I have the red ones turned on in the rear. I think I have the front ones turned off because they light up the ducts and then you can kind of see it in the bottom of the camera view. But, like, you know, there you go. Pro tip. Only buy the Hummingbird non-race for the LEDs, because the smaller plugs, you're going to sacrifice horsepower. The OSD is super annoying. It is lightweight. And I guess if you want to run motors with the small plugs, that's it. If you want to run motors with the small plugs, like the Newbie Drone Hummingbird motors, this AIO makes sense. This build makes sense. So, like, if you've got, I guess if you want to do an X69, so, like, I guess what it is that if you have a Hummingbird race, but then you want, like, a freestyle rig or a rig for a buddy or something like that, that's getting into it, this is not a bad option. The regular Hummingbird non-race, because you guys can trade motors back and forth. You can trade batteries back and forth, right? And so I guess that makes sense. Otherwise, big plugs, man. 2G4, Betaflight AIOs, all the other AIOs. Everybody other than Emax and Newbie Drone are using the big plugs. If you've got a build on the small plugs that doesn't make enough power, you can get 4 to 5 to 6,000 extra RPM by going to the big plugs. Unfortunately, the pin spacing on the big plugs is different. So you can't take an AIO that is set up for the small plugs and move it to the big plugs. You have to get a different AIO. So that's a little bit annoying. But now we know. Small plugs are not going to deliver the same amount of RPM as the big ones. I am staggered at how big of a difference this is in RPM. That's wild. Did we get to the bottom of the chat by chance?
Close. Let's see.
Shit. Where are we at?
Metal Dirt and Skin says Kapton tape is a must for the toolkit, like 10mm wide. It's like my version of Windex.
I never noticed the N in
I know. You've been saying his name wrong.
Unbelievable.
For like 4 years that I've been watching you.
Absolutely unbelievable. It makes way more sense as Metal Dirt and Skin. That's absolutely ridiculous. I did that with somebody else's name. For years I said it the wrong way, and then one day I was like, wait a second, there's an extra letter in there. Son of a bitch.
That happened like 2 years ago, I think. Sporty Oh, go ahead.
There we go. Yeah. Don't have a build for 1S 550s at the moment. Sporny, you don't? Or are you asking me if I do? Tag me again, real quick though, because we're past midnight already. I'm just gonna call him Metal from now on then, because I feel bad. Metal says, I know it's better anyway. Metal says, I know I bought one of those balance things a while back, but I can't find it saved emails because Google search is hot garbage now. Zach is doomed by the bell says the Flywoo F405 ERVT. What's ERVT? Is another option for direct solder AIOs, though it's not without its problems. Super long USB being the biggest one for me. Yeah, Flywoo AIOs tend to be really expensive too.
$70. It's actually not that
it's
expensive.
not too bad. Yeah, but like between Happymodel and Beta FPV, like it's tough to move to anyone else. And yeah, the super long USB is maddening. That is super annoying. Mick Mucus says, did Maggie change her first name as well? Magpies are part of the corvid family, also my favorite kinds of birds. No, her first name has always been Margaret, but her father, I think, growing up, used to call her Magpie, which led to her, noticing that family of birds and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Metal with the last comment of the live stream, he says, no worries, it's kind of a silly name to begin with. In other words, yes, it is better that way. Yeah, sorry, dude. Did I miss anything? Just kind of scrolling through real quick.
I got it.
Any final thoughts, Kevin?
It's the short winter months. Get out, take a walk every day, get you some sun, vitamin D. Keeps you healthy, both physically.
Don't fly while you're out there, though. Fly inside the house. Everything breaks.
Yeah. Don't land in a snowbank. That's bad.
Oh, hey, speaking of, yet another got soaking wet. Unplugged it as quick as possible, let it dry out overnight, and then plug it back in, and everything is fine experience. So, yeah, waterproofing your shit is not totally necessary unless you want to fly in the rain, right? Waterproofing is not going to necessarily save you from, is not needed to save you from it getting wet. It's probably not going to hurt, but yeah, get them unplugged if they get wet and just let them sit. What kills them is when you get antsy and you gotta know if it's broken or not, and you wait an hour and plug it back in and there's still something that's wet. You gotta let it sit overnight. I didn't have a best pet is to put it in front of a fan, any kind of moving air. I did not have a fan to put this in front of last night, so I just let it sit in the case in the middle of the room like this, and that was enough for it to dry out, and it's totally fine. Camera's fine, board's fine.
RC Ritter at where were we? We were at Rampage 3 years ago maybe. He taught me the trick of, those fans that tilt, the like desk fans that tilt. They're usually like black with a red logo.
Yeah.
He had one that he uses as like a fan blow during sleep while he was there, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I also use it." And they go flat, so you can set your quad right on top of them.
Yeah. The fan, that little green fan that I have over there, does the same thing. You just send it straight up. But just anything, rice, silica. There's a million different ways. But if you're in your car, put your air conditioning on. Floor full speed and put it down in the floorboard. Just anything to get moving air over it is going to evaporate the water as fast as possible. Sporny with the actual last comment of the live stream, he says, I'd get up early, but then I would miss all of you because stream starts at 4 a.m. That is dedication right there. Thanks for hanging, everybody. Thanks for the life advice, Kevin. It is important to remember to not die in the sad winter months. Denzel the Servo says, don't use rice to dry electronics. It just gets sticky dust on them. There you go. Just use moving air, friends. It's going to work totally fine. Yeah, thanks for hanging, people. See you on Wednesday. CiottiFPV.com if you like these live streams, would like to see them continue. Patreon's the best way to support me. Lots of fun stuff on my Etsy store, and you get to buy yourself something while supporting me. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Teespring store with lots of fun shirts, apparel, other random shit. There's probably another one I'm forgetting. Affiliate links. Change your bookmarks to affiliate links. Cool. See you guys on Wednesday. 10 o'clock Eastern time. Be good, people.
Hey, folks.
Oh, I don't have... thanks again, Kevin, for coming on here and slinging some questions at me.
You're welcome. Also, you're not ready, like always.
Nope. Here we go, though. That was flying outside of this place. Here's a little bit more flying at this cool little Airbnb that Maggie, Florence, and I spent the weekend at. Love you, bye!
Yeah. Out in the yard where the grass grows wild, CiottiFPV's goggles locked, grinning like a child. Teddy Spaghetti's fur flies and jet wash dreams, yeah. Chasing small whoops like a dog possessed fiend. Eyes on a neon blur, hard in the chase. Big fuzz and prop spin all tangled in place, yeah. Four-legged rebel with a rotor stir tail in the circus of the sky. They never fail. CiottiFPV, Teddy Spaghetti, dynamic duo kings, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed, they zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a 2D smile. Yeah. Ciotti's on sticks, Teddy's on paws. Side by side, legends breaking all the laws. Through the kitchen, over couch scale terrain. Backyard mayhem in their flight domain. No ground too sacred, no loop too tight. Fuzz, fuel, fury ignites the night. When pilot and pup lock eyes on the prize, every whoop they conquer is a fresh cut surprise. Yeah. Yo, Ciotti behind the sticks, Teddy's leading the pack. Prop guard missiles unleashed, never looking back. No leash, no map, just freestyle mic. They on the dog drone streets every day and night. Said whoops, hitting low, gotta nail the dive. Teddy push throttle up, feel the beast come alive. I see the neon arc, got the sticks locked in, Teddy. Yeah, let's rip this loop, ride the roar of the wind, Teddy. Yep. Yeah, CiottiFPV, Teddy Spaghetti, coming at duo kings, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed, zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a 2D smile. Teddy Spaghetti. Barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed, things zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a 2D smile. Yeah, when you hear that bar cut the rotor hum, you know Ciotti and Teddy's mission's just begun. FPV's fur-faced legends sing it loud. Yeah, Teddy Spaghetti and CiottiFPV always proud.